With Twit it was different, because John Chaundy had got some ideas to cut it down to weight, and so he just got the bare hull and finished it himself. In fact, he really did get it right down to weight, which of course in those days was 145 pounds, which is considerably more what it is now, which is 99 and half or so. And of course, oh dear, it's a job to remember everything, but it comes back slowly, all these different things. So we must record the life, I suppose, of Ted Hicks and his wife, because I first met them at an open meeting in Cam, and I've still got, you see, if you won the Cam open meeting, there wasn't a trophy, but someone or the other in the club would donate a piece of silverware. And the open meeting I won was in 1963, and I've still got the silverware in my lounge now. It's actually a wine coaster, but without the felt bottoms.
Yeah.
Do you know what a wine coaster is, do you?
No, describe it to me.
Well, they had felt bottoms because they used to put a bottle of wine on in the coaster, and if somebody said pass the wine, you used to be able to push the thing and it would slide along the table with the bottle still in it. So I met Ted there, not the one that I didn't win the first one where he was there, but I got to know him pretty well, and he and his wife were into yachting as well as into Moss at Midley, and they had a Virtue, which was an Elkins design sloop, and he kept it in Dover Harbour. And he got to know the people in Dover pretty well. In fact, you know, it's probably to begin with why we struck up such a friendship with the Royal Cinque Ports Yacht Club in those days. They had a sort of semi-inland branch, if you like, to the Moss that raced in Dover Harbour, and that was at Maidstone, where the Maidstone Sailing Club was actually on this peanut-shaped lake in Moat Park, and the headquarters were in a building which was really part of the Leonard Cheshire homes for you know, injured servicemen, because he was a VC. I think he was one of the dam busters, wasn't he, Leonard Cheshire? Anyway, so I raced at Maidstone as well, and that was very interesting because the peanut-shaped lake was down the bottom of the hollow, so it became rather interesting at times. So in the winter they would go to Maidstone and concentrate there, and then when the weather got better, most of them would troop off back to Dover again. And of course the most famous one from around there, of course, is Charlie Reeves. And Charlie did turn up a few years ago. Last time I raced at Northampton in the championship, Charlie turned up. I didn't recognise him really, he was so old and a bit decrepit, but I was pleased to see he was still alive. But Charlie was in the jewellery trade and the silversmith trade and all that. His father was a magistrate, and they had several shops around the Medway towns. And their house was at a small village called Shorn, which is the London side of Rochester, but on rising ground, and the house overlooked the complete estuary at that point, and it was very attractive. So when I did the Hume Arena winter meeting there one year, Charlie invited me to stay with him in this house, and it was a beautiful house. And Charlie, of course, was responsible for making the first ever transom trophy, which really, the first one was really beautiful. It was the shape of a moss transom, but over nearly all of it was a kind of embossed silhouette three moths racing close together, all close hauled, one
Yeah.
partly obscure than the other, if you follow me.
Yeah.
And it was really beautiful. And the first year that Broxbourne won it happened that the OK dinghy had been designed a year or so earlier, and they had a national championship, and the first ever OK national championship team trophy was won by Broxbourne. Two of the lads, Walsh brothers, and another lad won it, and in our club room on the river we had a lot of trophies upstairs in the club room. And it was, of course, that winter when I came home from work tired as usual, and if I could eat my dinner I had to slip in the river and have a swim up to the bridge and back again, and that was nearly midnight. And apparently the fire that burnt the whole of the club room down started about 1:45 in the morning, and quite a strong northerly wind which was blowing straight down the river. And all these trophies went, the whole lot, and the Transom Trophy aggrieved, you know, it did go that way. It was replaced later on by Ken Hunt, who was chairman of the class one time. But I went along to the yacht club. It wasn't a sailing club then, it was Broxbourne Yacht Club, Cadet Club, and Rowing Club. And the whole lot was just a pile of ashes, and all the rowing eights and everything went. And I walked into the smouldering ruins, and all down one wall there was a trickle of gold metal, like gold trophies or something, had melted. And it was in, like, is it stalagmites or stalactites?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, whichever hang down it.
Yeah.
And there's gold metal all the way down the wall.
Oh dear.
And it wasn't trophies or anything. The telephone was full of threepenny bits, the hexagon ones, and they'd all melted and come down the walls.
It's been hot.
Yeah, yeah.
Any idea why the fire started, or did they find out?
No, I think it must have started in the bar with a fag or something like that, you know. Anyway, so of course then that was it. We had no club room then, but by then we had already taken possession of the central lagoon, you see. So it didn't matter, but we were still part of the yacht club, and then ensued a very, very bitter row between the two sections, between the sailing club, which well then of course included the cadet section, and the rowing club, over the fire insurance money for the property, and that went on for ages and ages. And one of the members of the committee of the rowing club, and they didn't have many members actually, and they foresaw that if the money was spread out, it had to go out per capita to membership, which didn't do them any favours at all. So they took it up on a very strong legal basis, and we fortunately had a chap who was in television, and you probably remember him, Peter Fowler.
Yeah.
And Peter Fowler acted in our behalf, and the money eventually was split more or less evenly. But one interesting thing about it is that one of the members of the rowing club committee was a man called Graham Arnold.
Yeah.
And at that time Graham was finance director of Lotus Cars. And Lotus, of course, who started in Hornsey Lane, you know, the continuation of Turnpike Lane to Crouch End. It started on between the road and the railway line there, and then they moved to Cheshunt, and only a couple of doors away from where Lotus Cars was St Albans Sand and Gravel headquarters, which is rather strange because they were our landlords, you see.
Yeah.
So anyway, what Graham did, he decided he had a bright idea. He wanted to find out what the value of the land and everything was, so he advertised the yacht club for sale in the Times. So there was a big old furore about that, you could imagine, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that all disappeared in the in the future. That was rather strange completely. And then carrying on about Lotus Cars, we had a young bachelor Australian guy named Warren King, and he and I used to practice sailing backwards round the course on the Central Lagoon midweek because he had got a bit of spare time.